You're listening to Mr. Suave at MrSuave.com.
Mod is a generic term for the modern young man.
You were just a little mod. Just a little mod. She's a mod, she's a mod, she's a mod. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't give a monkey's arseholes about mods and rockers.
All I really want is me a mod boy with his own unique style.
Are you a mod or a rocker?
No, I'm a mocker.
Me while the scummods are getting underway, taking all night and into the day.
Mods are back again. Mods are back again. Mods are back again.
Whether you approve or disapprove, they are real, and they're happening now in the mod world all around you.
Oh, and this one time at band camp,
Mr. Suave here, kids, and have I got a special Modcast episode for you. I will be joined this week by one of the best Northern Soul mod DJs on the scene today. A man who has probably forgotten more about soul music than I ever even knew. He is the host of his own On Target podcast and is also part of the Internationalist Club podcast along with co-hosts T Spurs and Lord Ward. I am talking, of course, about DJ Mod Marty. If you want to dive deeper into Marty's own podcasts, I've got links up on the Modcast homepage at MrSuave.com, and they are highly recommended. So hang on for a great discussion about the current mod scene, new music and new and old bands alike, and get ready for just a little less rock and a lot more mod talk. First up, though, a new song from a great soul act out of Toronto, Canada, the Syndicate of Soul, with I Don't Want to Say Forever Unless It's to You.
We stared at each other all night.
Mr. Suave's Mod World, the web's longest running modcast. MrSuave.com.
Welcome, Marty, to the Modcast. I am glad to have you here finally.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has. I have been remiss in not having you on earlier, and I think I reached out to you a long time ago and said, "Hey, we should do this," and then I don't know, moved on, and nothing happened.
I know how that goes. Believe me.
First thing is all condolences. How are you holding up after the loss of your scooter?
Oh, it's tough, man. It's really tough. I waited about 10 years to get that scooter. I was looking for something that I really wanted that, was the right scooter for me. And I found it, and I rode it for a couple of years. It kind of broke down. So I took it into the local shop, spent the winter rebuilding it, rebuilding the engine from the top up, and got it back 2 weeks later. It was stolen. And it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, that is painful. What kind of scooter was it?
It was a 1964 Vespa GL with the square headlight, the real lovely bike.
Yeah. So is there any chance that it will be discovered somewhere, or that you might track it down? Because that's not a easy thing to have sitting around somewhere. Somebody's going to see it.
Exactly. It's funny. My insurance adjuster seems very confident that we're going to get it back, which is great. I'm glad that he's confident. And you're right. It is unique and it stands out. So they can't sell it. They can't ride it around. They can't. I mean, they could ship it out of the city, but it didn't seem like that type of person that was stealing it. It was just somebody trolling the back alleys for something. And basically I've got everybody in the city looking out for it. So I'm hoping somebody's going to catch a glimpse and have a word,
Yeah. If it's somebody who doesn't know quite what they have, they're actually more likely to piece it out or do who knows what, which is really heartbreaking.
I was thinking once they start taking it apart, it becomes worthless to them because they can't sell the parts to anybody unless they have a buyer who has a GL.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. I hope that
Thank you.
Something good comes out of it. I don't know what, but
there is something good that might come out of it because in looking for it on Marketplace, I came upon a 1960 Vespa VBA, and I've put that on hold. So if I get a payout, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Right. And if I get mine back, I'm out a couple $100 for the hold money. But at least I've got a backup in the wings. So that's something.
Yeah, that's cool. So there's always I guess a silver lining out there with something like that.
Yeah.
So
anyhow,
that wasn't what I wanted to talk to you necessarily about.
Sure.
But your scooter,
it's a big thing.
It's a big thing. That's right. What I really wanted to do was just kind of dive in with you a little bit about your journey to the place you're at now, the On Target show, all the things that you're doing, and then we can talk more about what's going on currently, whether we're seeing a little new mod resurgence revival or not. This is a theme that I have latched onto for probably the rest of this year, I would guess, because I've got so many people that want to talk about it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's interesting, and everybody kind of has a different take on it, which is also really cool. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about your origin story? How'd you get into this whole thing? What made you choose this crazy subgenre to be interested in?
Well, I grew up on a little island off the coast of British Columbia called Salt Spring Island, which was basically a hippie colony. It was very just full of hippies, and I did not fit in. And I rebelled as much as I could by becoming a prep. I grew up in the 80s, so I was a preppy, and that sort of once I was introduced to the Specials and the Jam and the Clash and bands like that, then my style changed with my interest in that, especially the Specials, for instance, because that rude boy look was really, really appealing to me. I got my first scooter 16, 17.
Wow.
there was a British exchange student who came to the island, and he had one, and he didn't want it anymore. I'm like, well, great. I didn't really get that one going very well. It was a bit of a damaged bike, but that sort of all, once I saw Quadrophenia, and that sort of all sort of molded that beginning for me. But when I graduated from high school, moved to Vancouver, and started to connect with the scooter scene there, that's when I was introduced to mods and rude boys and scooter boys and all of that, skinheads and the whole gamut of subcultures. And ska was a massive thing for me. And then I was a big Prince fan because of the funk element. And Prince introduced me to James Brown, and James Brown, from there on, I went, deep down into the funk and R&B. And as I went on, I became more refined. I'd say, like, I became, my tastes became more refined. I mean, it was the early 90s, so I was then introduced to Blur and Oasis and that Britpop thing that was happening. And that, to me, I could taste the flavor of mod and all of that stuff as well. So I just kept on going down that road, and I drew a comic called Kindernacht, which is all about my scooter club and mods and skinheads and fighting Nazis and like all this stuff. And I got more and more into the look and the style and the music, and I loved how there was a community connected to it, and that it was all it was all encompassing. There were so many things under this umbrella that I enjoyed and I loved, and that just spoke to me. And I was just, and I just kept on going, and scooters were a huge thing, clothes, the whole thing.
Yeah. That is not unlike many stories. My own is very similar. I got into, my brother is much older than I am by about 16 years. And so he instilled in me a love of 60s music, with the British Invasion stuff, the Moody Blues and the Kinks and the Who and that. And also like Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Doors and the American side. So that was my first inkling of things. And then being of a similar age to you, I guess, the whole punk, power pop, new wave thing imprinted on me right at that perfect age when you're absorbing new things and new music in high school and stuff. And that just stuck. And so the mod thing jumped out at me, and it was like, wow, this is just great. It was a melding of those two things, in the early 80s. And so, just like that, stuck and went through the 90s. And being in Seattle, it was all very alternative, and the grunge thing was so huge that it was hard to find anything else at the time.
Yeah, well, I lived in Vancouver at that time, and I spent every single weekend in Seattle, and it was like,
okay,
yeah, I mean, I loved Seattle so much. Like, I went down there all the time, and I felt that there as well. Yeah. Even more so than Vancouver. Vancouver had a really good scene, but Seattle had like an energy to it at that time that was very exciting.
Yeah, I grew up in California and was living in California, but had family up here, and I would come up here on occasion and somehow met some scooterists and some mods, and came up to the Pacific Northwest Scooter Insanity.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was heavily involved in that.
Really? Okay. Maybe you were and I were there at the same time, just didn't know it.
We were. I bet you we were. It would be amazing if we hadn't crossed paths at some point.
It was funny because I remember I wrote on the back of Victor.
Oh yeah,
Morris.
Victor Morris. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote on the back of his scooter, and it's somebody else too riding around. And there was a show at the Mountaineers Club.
Yeah.
The Posies were there.
Yeah,
before anybody knew who. Yeah, so see, we were both there. That's really funny.
That's hilarious.
And I remember being struck by the Posies because they did some 60s covers and some really cool stuff. And then they were just starting to get their own thing going, but they did not look like they should be playing a really mod rally concert. But they were great. They were great.
Definitely.
Oh, very funny.
Yeah.
So you have done the On Target podcast for how many years?
almost 11 years now. Yeah.
Okay. And you have almost 600 shows, right?
Yeah. I'm getting close to 600.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've doubled my output because it's taken me 20 years to get to 600 shows.
Well, you're not doing it weekly though, right?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not on a schedule.
Yeah.
No.
See, and I've got radio stations that are depending me to have it out weekly. So that's what keeps me going. If it were up to myself, I would totally just like lose steam and drop off. But I'm really glad that I've got this because it does keep me going, and it's great to be involved in these radio stations.
And you mentioned you drew a comic book or something. Yeah. So you're an artist or designer?
Yeah. So I'm a graphic designer by trade and motion graphic designer. I work at a television station, and but I've been drawing comics since I could pick up a pencil, and I've do a comic now called Shadow Company, which is Kindernacht, which was the original comic. It's sort of reimagined, so brought up to date, and the art's way better. and I'm just trying to get it off the ground, but I'm still drawing all the time, and I'm still creating this comic, Shadow Company.
Yeah. I noticed too that you have animated a video recently.
Right.
And the Syndicate of Soul.
The Syndicate of Soul from Alberta. And they, so in doing that, while I was doing that video and animating it, which came out of me sending my comic to the main writer, producer, the drummer of the band. And he was so taken by the comic that the Syndicate of Soul actually wrote a song about my comic called Shadow Company. And it's the flip side of their current single, I Don't Want to Stay Forever, which is the one I did the video for. So it's all sort of serendipitous, and it sort of paid itself back, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool video. The song is great, and I love the story that Scooter Boy meets a mod girl at the Calgary Stampede of all places.
Surrounded in cowboys.
Yeah.
It's a true story. It's a true story of the
fantastic
writer's meeting his wife. Yeah.
And this is it's a contemporary band, obviously. Are they a relatively new band? I didn't know Syndicate of Soul in this at all.
They've been together for a long time, over 10 years, but they usually play backup for other acts, including Jackie Wilson's son. They backed up Jackie Wilson's son for a long time. And they but the drummer, the guy that I've been connected to, Hollywood Bob, he writes these great, just spot on Northern Soul and mod tracks. And he's got like a whole catalog. He keeps sending me recordings, and I'm like, oh my God, you've got to put this out. It's so good. And but so the band is changing hands and stuff. Like they're trying to put together a core group so they can actually put out an album, because they definitely have an album's worth of music, and then like really be a band standing on their own. And that's just in the process of happening. So they've been around for a long time, but they haven't been like their own band yet. So they're kind of new in that sense.
All right. So they're on the cusp of big things.
I hope so. Yeah, I think they should be.
Yeah. There is a lot of bands, as always, that kind of rise up at certain times, and often they are people that have been together for a while.
Yeah.
And then suddenly something clicks, and they do it. And it seems to almost work better than people who are like, I want to be in a band, let's form a band. They form a band, and they do, they actually are productive, but then it falls apart like within 18 months or 2.5 years, and they all go their separate ways. It's funny, these two separate paths to releases and singles that we find. And
well, it's like it all comes down to the dynamic of a small group, right? And it's really hard in any situation to keep a small group together, because there's always conflict, and there's always, and it's whether or not you can get over those conflicts, or how close you really are, right? So, and it's an age-old story, happens with all the bands.
It does. It does. So your program on Target, you focus mostly on original, like 50s, 60s, 70s, anything after that?
Yeah. Well, I do delve into more modern stuff every once in a while, and like if I find a great band that I really like, I'll play them. But I generally, the concept was to share my record collection with people, because I DJ this stuff out. I have a lot of friends who collect the same sort of music, and I just wanted to share my very large record collection with people. And the main purpose of that is that young people need to hear this stuff. If it doesn't get played by somebody, it's going to disappear. And I think that would be a tragedy. So I've sort of made it my life's mission to make sure that this great music stays on the airwaves and stays out there so that young people can get hooked by it and keep it going,
Yeah, that was why I started my show originally, because it was in 2006. There still was not very much on YouTube that you could find for what I was looking for, which was bands from the 80s from California primarily, but the more of the underground mod scene. You could find things from Secret Affair or The Jam, of course, or any of the two-tone bands, really, because they were quite popular. But you couldn't find the Leopards or The Question or Manual Scan. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a podcast out there because I want young people to find it, and I want people who were there to remember it, and keep it going. And then, like, within a couple of years, it was all over YouTube, and you could find it everywhere. That's okay.
True.
That's okay.
But you have to you have to know what you're looking for. Like, people aren't just accidentally coming across it. It is out there, but it's song for song. And one of the things that I think that we bring is that we put together a playlist, really, of, this all sounds really good together, and it goes together. It's a package.
Yeah.
So that's something special, I think.
Yeah. Your package, I mean, listening to your show is great. I discover a lot of things because I love soul music, obviously. I love to dance to Northern Soul. I'm not a collector of soul music like you are. And I don't have an extensive record collection. I had a lot of records a long time ago and then got rid of them because I was having trouble trying to digitize them. And I also needed a transmission for my car at the time. And I sold the records, but it was great because a guy who lives in Tacoma, Washington, which is not that far from Seattle, saw an ad I put out and came here and spent 3 hours going through them. And as soon as he went through them with me, I realized, well, okay, these records are going to somebody who will appreciate them at least.
Yeah, and that matters. Yeah, definitely.
It does. And you do all 45s, though, right? That's even more of a special collection.
I like to make it as niche as absolutely possible. I do all 45s. The way I think of 45s is they're like the old school MP3, right? Because I like songs. I have trouble with albums because I find that they're often full of filler, and that's bothersome. But there are a lot of really great albums that are great from start to finish. But I mean, who has time to listen to an entire LP, right? Yep. So for the short of attention span, a single is like the perfect thing because you have this one song that you love, and maybe there's a surprise on the flip side that you didn't even know you were going to love.
Right.
And I mean, aside from being really heavy to carry around and difficult to, when you get a lot of them, it's really hard to keep track of them all. But that's also part of the fun, like I being a visual person, I love the labels. I love the tactile experience of having it in my hand. There's a lot of stuff. Analog sound to me is better than digital sound. It's just, there's a whole bunch of reasons why I do it. But like my kids say that it's because I'm old and that's why I like all this stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, but there's a reason why as a human being I like all this stuff, right? And there's no reason why young people can't also have those joys out of these old, quote unquote, old things. Although bands now are putting out music on vinyl all the time. So
right, the resurgence of that has been very interesting because vinyl, I mean, you have to it's a very purposeful thing to listen to vinyl. Even if it's just a short 3-minute, song on a 45 or an album. And then halfway through that album, you have to get up, you have to go over there, you have to turn it over and listen to the second side. That's a very intentional listening. And the digital age has given us unintentional listening. And even worse, AI has given us unintentional conglomerations of things that it says should go together, but clearly do not go together when you listen to it. And it drives me nuts, which is why I'm not a huge Spotify guy.
Yeah, me either. I don't.
If I'm going to have music, digital music that I listen to, like when I walk the dog or something, it's my music, and so when I put it on shuffle, which I do all the time, I'm still going to get the things that I or a human person with an ear put together.
Yeah.
And the machine doesn't do that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's also why I enjoy listening to shows like my buddy Mod Mike down in St. Louis has a great show, Music to Move You, which I enjoy listening to his show. And I enjoy listening to your show. I love listening to Blow Up, like shows where you play some music and then you talk about the music because
Yes.
there's so many stories behind the music. There's so many opinions about it. There's a lot that goes into each song. And there's a lot that to be said about many, many songs. So it's great to hear people talking as well about that music that we just and like you said, that even ups the ante on the purposefulness of listening to it.
Right, right. And I always love hearing the stories that people tell about it, whether it's how they found a song or what they found out about a song or an artist or something. And especially great when it's people, bands, artists that I've never heard of or don't know much about. And so over the years, I've started just like really diving into always looking for something up and coming that could be, not the next big thing, but is something I want people to be sure to know about. And
Yeah.
doing new music stuff, which I find really fun, is just connecting with those artists and sharing
And
what they're doing.
I agree with that very much. And I do that as well whenever I come across stuff. I just don't study that. Like I don't dive deep into it. I mean, recently I've come across some pretty great bands that I would consider mod bands. But so do you mind if I open up this line of conversation?
Yeah, jump right in.
I find this really interesting. I think that there's modern bands that play mod music and their whole ethos is to reflect the 60s, to reflect the origins of mod, right? And then there's modern bands that play a music that has all the flavor of mod but is still modern, right? So for instance, I've got like there's bands like the 44s, the Crystal Teardrop, Waterboarding School, the Sound Reasons, bands like that that throw back to like the psychedelic age, the freak beat and like proper mod R&B and all of that sound, and that's the stuff that I love, and I love to hear modern bands do it. But they do it with a retro sound too. They try and strip away all the modern technology when recording, so they even have that sound like it was recorded in the 60s,
right?
And then there's the bands like the more modern mod bands like the Spitfires, the Molotovs, the Past Tense from Australia. There's also the High Learys from Australia, the Targets. Like there's a lot of these bands that are playing more modern music and still being mod,
Yeah.
And I think that's what Britpop was when it happened, right? Because it wasn't trying to be mod, but it was mod.
Yeah.
It
was an extension and a modern reimagination of that, but they added something different to it. They brought something new to the mix, which is why it's not a mod revival necessarily. It's Britpop. It's its own thing.
Yeah, thing, but it fits beautifully in.
It does. Yeah, it does.
But that's where I think that the current state of affairs doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It does in some bands like the ones that I mentioned, but I think for the most part, there's not like that kind of a movement where, or at least not on that scale, that's speaking to young people. And that's where I fear for the future of mod, because I feel as though, especially like DJing out and going to England and the experiences that I've had there, where I realize that when I'm DJing out, people that are really connecting to what I'm doing are there by accident. Didn't know what I was doing, that I was going to be there, like they're like just blown away because they were there and they heard what I was doing, and they that sends them down that rabbit hole, and they can go off and discover from there. But when I was in England, the thing that struck me the most is that the mods, quote unquote mods, that I came across are like our age, and are trying to relive their youth, which is the revival. So they're stuck in 77 to 79, whereas I'm stuck in an era before I was even born, and I mean, all that stuff has enormous value and should all be passed on. But my feeling is that it's important not to get stuck in that.
Right. So this is always a question that I have is this a mod band or is it a band of mods?
Right.
And I think a mod band typically is like what you're saying, this loving recreation of that sound. And those people are mods, but they're a mod band, and it is more retro, I guess. Whereas a band of mods would be people with that mod inclination who grew out of that or have that sensibility just ingrained in them, and then they're doing new music, contemporary music that has a reflection of it, but is not the same. And I think Britpop was a good example of that. And I think there's been some hints over the years here and there with the indie rock guitar sound. Oh yeah,
is a good example of that. You know, like they did their own thing. They did a new thing, but it still had it was just dripping with mod flavor, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like the Molotovs are like that too, and they're young, which is great.
I know. It's crazy.
I love seeing that. Yeah. But they definitely have that same sort of like, and every mod knows it. Every mod has been able to go, oh my God, that's that they're the new Prisoners, really. Like, that's what they've got. They pull from everything from punk to R&B, and it's just awesome.
That's one of the things that got me thinking. I last year I noticed a half a dozen articles popping up in various places, and not always in quote unquote mod spots. You know, it wasn't necessarily on modculture.com or something.
Right.
There were like guitar magazines and other things, and they were talking about is there a mod resurgence, especially among young people? And then I'm getting online and I'm seeing on Instagram and stuff, what I call baby mods in the wild, and they're like 14 years old, 16 years old. I mean, the Molotovs are old in comparison to some of these groups. And it's shocking to me because I am musically inept. I can't play an instrument, and they're playing pretty well for 14. And then the Molotovs, I mean, man, they're really great because they've played so much live music.
Yeah. And so you're giving me hope. So that you're finding this out there where there are young people that are interested in this, and enough that guitar magazines are writing about it.
I have a list I should go dig up that I used when I was getting into this, and I'll send you the list of the references, and you could check out some of them because it was interesting about, and of course they talk about Paul Weller and all of these things too, but there were new things happening, which got me on the kick of contacting you and other DJs, especially in the UK, and then some of the bands themselves. And what is happening there is, apparently, I haven't been to the UK in a few years, club nights are opening up with younger people more.
That's good.
The one I love the name the most is the Tickety Boo, which is in Soho, and awesome. Helen of Troy, and so on. And I even reached out to Sherry's in London.
Oh yeah.
And manager wrote back and said, yeah, we see the same crowd that gets older every year. And he said, but thinking about it, we're starting to see young people coming in more too. So I did get feedback that there was that, but I got a lot of feedback like what you're saying from DJs over there saying, it's still the people I've known for 20 years who come to the all-nighter and love Northern Soul and do this. And so it's a mix. But I do think there's something happening, but it is much more retro focused.
It's really interesting too, because I find that there are subcultures that are really hanging on that sort of make me scratch my head. But it is amazing. Like goth and like that is really hanging on, and punk and skinhead. Like there's some really, a lot of young people like just picking up that mantle. And I wonder to myself what it is that makes mod not like that. And I think that it's because modern youth doesn't have the attention span to pay attention to the details that it requires to be a mod. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It means that that you have to, like, when you're getting dressed, you care about all the little things, like
Cufflinks.
Cufflinks, what buttons are buttoned up, how many laces you have on your shoes, like if there a cuff at the bottom of your pants, how wide is your pant, like all these things that matter to mods, because the end result is this sharp looking, really well dressed. Because I've seen, especially at ska shows, like it's so cute, but you have like the all ages ska show with the 14-year-old kid showing up in a black suit with a white shirt and completely ill-fitting, like all bunched up at the ankles, pants, and huge wide lapels and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, I get it. And you're looking so proud, like so proud.
Yeah.
A wide brim fedora, and, and you're like, okay, you're not quite there, but you really want to be. And I love that kind of
nice zoot suit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I see that, and it's mostly in ska, and it's because a rude boy suit is easy to put together, black and white. But when it comes to mod, you're also like looking forward and looking back at the same time, and that requires energy, and that requires concentration. And I think due to cell phones and the internet and content and the way that content is given to kids now, they don't have that anymore. Like it isn't part of their wheelhouse anymore, and they can't give it the attention it needs.
The style of social media that Gen Z, for lack of a better term, or young kids, is so the editing is like
fast. Yeah.
It's TikTok. It's why I'm not on TikTok, because it's like jarring to me. Actually, I'm like, gotta slow this down. I realize I'm not the target market here. But yeah, there's no time to sort of revel in the details and enjoy, a cappuccino and listen to an album or something.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. And that itself would be an interesting way that a new mod sort of sense was shaped or changed or evolved as it moves into the future. And I don't know, maybe those two things are too opposed to ever really mesh, or maybe some group of kids is going to find a way to mix these things in an interesting way that we can't imagine, which is the whole point.
There's always the pendulum swinging the other way, right? So there's always possible that in maybe there's young people that feel the same way that we do and would say to themselves, let's really kind of delve into the tactile, delve into what's right in front of us, be present in the moment, those kinds of things, and it will be a rebellion against the insanity of TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so. I think that would be a really cool way to rebel against modern technology and stuff. Well, AI might lead to all of that, because people are getting very scared of all of the AI and everything in the world, and it's stepping on our toes.
Well, on that doom saying note, I don't want to go down that path. It'll scare me to death for the rest of the day. I'm going to slightly switch gears. One thing I throw out to you about for the show was, what is your most quintessential mod song? What do you can define that how you want, sort of. What's the modest song, or the song you think most embodies mod or sounds mod, or however you
I have one track that I always go to, and no matter all the music that I know and all the music I listen to, this is the track that to me says mod, and that's Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs.
Yeah.
Just hands down. Every time I go back to it, I just get tingles, and I feel it. And they had no intention of it being connected to anything but a piece of music, and it was actually just a jam, right?
Yeah.
And
he was just a kid.
Yeah, he was like 13 or something.
Yeah.
He got pulled out of school that day to record that record. It's absolutely the most perfect unintentional mod track. But if it were intentional, or it was part of the mod ethos or history, I would say My Generation by The Who. Because like, no matter which generation you're in, if it's my generation, it's my generation, right? So that's something that could keep on going with the mod thing. But I think Green Onions would have to be my go-to.
I got to see Booker T at Jazz Alley here last year.
Nice.
And it was a delightful show, because he's just a great entertainer, and he has this rapport with the audience. He tells the stories of Green Onions and different songs, and then he plays guitar and does covers of Prince and stuff.
It's quite. I got a chance to see him too with Questlove's band. They were backing him, and they came to Winnipeg, and I was doing an after party across the street from where they were playing. And you do after parties for big things, hoping to get the crowd that went there. You never expect the band to come in, and the freaking band came in.
That's fantastic.
Booker T and Questlove and the rest of the band, and it was just like, what?
Yeah.
And they dug it because we were playing all that stuff, like R&B and soul and funk and stuff. So it was really, really cool to have that happen, because that never happens.
That's great. So did you get a chance to meet or talk with him?
Yeah. I got a chance to like say hi and stuff. I was DJing, so unfortunately,
right. No, that's fortunate, because he's hearing you play the music.
Yeah, we kind of shared,
cool.
right? He played for me earlier, and I got to play for him afterwards.
That is cool. Yeah. That's definitely quintessential. I mean, of course, with Quadrophenia, that's probably where I heard it first, I would guess.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I probably didn't know it before I saw Quadrophenia. And maybe I had heard it because it is kind of iconic and it's in things, but I didn't know it until that. And then, of course, when you're introduced at a young age to Quadrophenia, suddenly you dive into that, in this whole way, and watch it and listen to it and everything. And then it was like Booker T. Oh my gosh. And then that opened so many other doors for me. What is this? What Stax? Oh my God. Motown, all these things that I kind of had heard, but it was a whole new chapter. And man, I love discovering things like that. Because when you discover something, it's new music to you. It's new to you.
Yeah.
And even if it's been around for 45, 50, 60 years, who knows? It's new to you, and you get to have that joy of discovering something.
Discovering it for the first time. It's like, absolutely. I was lucky enough, I think it's luck that it wasn't Quadrophenia itself that got me into the mod thing. Like, it was music initially. And once I saw Quadrophenia, I felt like it was saying what I was wanting to, like, it was putting everything into focus, right? As opposed to it being the jumping off point for me. But I was familiar with so I have two older brothers who are about 10 years older than me, and they loved The Who, they loved Led Zeppelin, Queen, like they were that era of headbanger guys. But the 70s stuff, right? The stadium rock stuff, right? So I thought that's what The Who was. And then my brother's like, well, check this album out, and he brought me the original Quadrophenia album with the booklet in the middle. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. He's got like the coolest scooter, and he dresses really cool, and they're hanging out like in a coffee shop with a pinball machine, and like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't understand it. It was the actual original one before the movie was made. So it was that album that took me to the movie. I then found out that the movie was made from that album, and I was like, okay, well, I have to go see it. And I watched it, and I didn't understand it at all. I didn't know what it was about, but after watching it several hundred times, I figured out what it is, and I it does still speak to me in many, many ways, but I can understand why it's a cult film, because it's kind of an odd story, but it's still that internal turmoil as a youth, especially, that we are all going through is right out there in this film.
I was just talking with a friend of mine who I've known for a long time. In fact, he guest hosted the Modcast a lot, like 2008 or 9 or something, and he did a power pop show where all the songs had to have ba 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 in them. And and he's been in some bands and alternative music and power pop sort of wheelhouse, but not very mod, and knows it probably only in passing for me. But he told me, and I found this quite surprising, that he recently watched Quadrophenia for the first time with his 16-year-old daughter, and she loved it. And she was like, what in the world? Like, and they talked about it a little bit. And he said the only thing he could figure is he had trouble kind of understanding it, watching it the first time too. But he figured it is a universal youth story that kids, no matter what your musical proclivity is or anything, if you just kind of follow that story, you understand that youthful angst. And maybe she's, probably feels some of that and has these, and she was blown away by it.
Oh, maybe I should
So
show it to my daughter.
you never know, right? And I was surprised. I would have thought he was the kind of person who maybe had already watched it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Not, like me who's watched it over and over, but it is that album, the original album, is the greatest album ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tale. It's an epic tale. It's a rock opera. It's all those things, and it's just.
I
awesome.
listened to it often. There was probably a good 10 or 12 years in my life, not too long ago either, where I listened to something from that album every single day intentionally.
Yeah.
And I listened to them, the Royal Philharmonic do their version, and I listened to all these things. So it's always had a special place in my soul.
Yeah, same. I still to this day, and like you can poo-poo the whole like, oh, it's cookie cutter. Like all the cookie cutter mods came out of the Quadrophenia thing, right? But okay, fine, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter how you get to it. Just get there.
Right. It's like Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
There were a lot of cookie cutter hippies that came out of all sorts of things in the 60s, right? But
definitely
there was also a lot of people who were just really moved by the sensibility of the time and what was going on. So,
and the innocence of it's very sort of cut down to very simple experience, like one person's simple experience, but it's so layered that it has us going back and watching it over and over and over again to kind of understand, like we want to understand what Jimmy's going through, what it is.
Yeah. Are there other movies, I'm just thinking like that have that would be kind of mod friendly movies that you can watch over and over? That
not in the same way. There are a lot of mod movies that I've gone back to. Blow Up's another one.
Yeah.
And it's more mod in its look and feel than about a mod at all. But that being said, a lot of mods in the 60s had like some kind of art background or art interest. And photography was also a very, very big part of that. And the film's about a photographer. And it goes through like that sort of like glamorous mod time period of and in Soho, and he goes to see the Yardbirds and
right,
the really cool
the swinging 60s.
Yeah, the swinging 60s, but not the over the top Austin Powers swinging 60s. You know what I mean? It's the tipping point thing. It's like there's a book called The Tipping Point. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's about about when things are really cool and they get more and more popular, but then there's a point where it becomes so popular that it loses all its cool and everybody's doing it. And mod hit that point in the 60s, like in 66, 67, where it was swing in London was mod. And but everybody's idea of mod was slightly different. Some people it was the psychedelic, some people it was the R&B, so it lost its meaning in a lot of ways. And that's how Northern Soul started, because the real hardcore mods went off to like find their own little clubs and not tell anybody about it and go back to listening to stripped down R&B, and that was a really important turning point. But the tipping point is what changed everything, and the same thing sort of happened in the revival as well. There was a tipping point where it became so popular that it started to be not cool anymore, right? And then it never quite recovered from that one.
Every major I'll say music movement goes through that, though, I think, too. Like you mentioned grunge again. It was like the joke in Seattle was you couldn't walk down the street without getting a record deal. If you were wearing a flannel shirt, they were just handing them out everywhere. Or in the late 70s, the Knack, and then the Knack Latch. For a while, it had to have a power pop sound, and then 9 months later, you could not have that sound, and no one wanted anything to do with it. The tipping point had arrived. The same happened with the grunge scene. The same happened probably in Britpop too, although I don't know when that tipping point was. But at some point, every one of these scenes kind of falls off, jumps the shark.
Yeah, definitely. And I just don't. I think that the core of mod, or the essence of mod, never got lost in that. It's often it does get lost, but like you couldn't like have a grunge revival. That would be the weirdest thing ever. But you but you could have mod come back and be more front and center, because it does have a staying power that I think has an enormous amount of value.
Well, it has a culture that goes beyond the music.
Yeah.
Like, really modernist, there's a certain sort of mindset, and there is an aesthetic that goes beyond just the clothes you wear into kind of everything else that is around you and what you do with it. And that is extends its life a lot more than just the flannel shirt or the platform shoes or skinny tie.
100%. 100%. I do another podcast as well.
The
I don't,
Internationalists,
yeah, the
right?
Internationalist Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the concept of that is that there's three of us. We're core. We're going to be growing it a little bit more, but the idea is that I'm in Canada. Tim Spurrier, or T Spurs, he's in England, and Matt the Lord Ward is in Australia, and we talk about the differences about being mod in these three different, very, very, very different locations. I mean, it all keeps on going back to England, of course, because that's for obvious reasons. And yes, Canada and Australia are part of the Commonwealth too, so we're kind of England as well. But they are very, very different places. Now, Matt is actually from England. He's not from Australia. It'd be interesting to have an actual Australian who's grown up there and had that experience, because from everything that Matt tells me and everything I read on the internet, Australia's got a great mod scene. Like people are still very, very interested in it and still going out to things, and young people are coming along, and something is happening there that's really, really interesting, at least in Melbourne and I don't know about Sydney and places like that, but there is a bit of a resurgence there. And like I say, in England, in Northern Soul, there's young people getting really interested in it. So, and that comes from, there was two movies that were made, Soul Boy and the Northern Soul movie.
Yeah.
And in doing those movies, they did these, like, it took like a year to get people to learn how to dance in order to be the background for the scenes where they were doing the Northern Soul dancing, right? But in doing that, they got a mass of young people interested in Northern Soul, because they just wanted to be in the movie, but they learned how to Northern Soul dance.
You're right.
And then they got hooked on the music. And that was a big boom for youth interest in Northern Soul. But that's just Northern Soul, and Northern Soul is the end result of mods not wanting to be a part of the swinging London thing, and then like creating clubs like the Twisted Wheel and the Torch and things like that, which was just meant to be like obscure American music. And then somehow they invented a dance to go along with it, and incorporated a bunch of karate in there.
And it's what I always see the early Northern Soul dancers, or probably early to me, but late to them. Those videos, it's like where breakdancing started.
It is exactly where breakdancing started.
The spinning and stuff was not quite as prominent, but that whole, landing on your back and springing up.
Yeah.
And I can see why they had to take so many drugs to stay up all night to do that. I could never do any of that. I'm just happy to swivel my hips a little bit if I'm feeling okay.
There's a book that I read that had this great story about how DJs in New York specifically were coming over to England and going to the Wigan Casino, which by the time it closed was the biggest nightclub in the world. It had the most members. And the American, I guess, like the tip of the arrow, the people that were leading whatever was happening in New York at the time, were siphoning their everything from the Wigan Casino. Like the disco sound that they were playing at the time that was going into rap and like that new kind of R&B, that was also coming out of the Northern Soul scene. Like the closeness of disco and Northern Soul sometimes can be a blurry line.
Right.
And the dancing, like the incorporating those moves into breakdancing, it absolutely came from Northern Soul dancing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So right now, are there Northern Soul acts? I could think of a few bands that have been around a while that do some great stuff. What are some new soul-based things, or what's new stuff that you're listening to or excited about right now?
The Syndicate of Soul.
Yeah, Syndicate of Soul.
Yeah, they're doing some really great stuff. There are a couple of acts in the UK that are a modern version of Northern Soul or pull from that. New Street Adventure is one of the ones that comes off the top of my head. I don't know if you're familiar with Lavana, the Northern Soul girl. She's called the Northern Soul dancing girl, Lavana. She's in the video for a song called The Big AC. Okay. And it's straight up Northern Soul, and she's Northern Soul dancing in it. I mean, even Mercy. Do you remember that song Mercy? Was a big hit that had Northern Soul in it. Duffy, yeah. Moloko is another band that I absolutely love.
Moloko?
Moloko, like a Milk from Clockwork Orange, the Moloko.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're Scandinavian. I can't remember where they're from exactly, but they have some really great modern sounding tracks that you just think were nightclub tracks, but they're very specifically Northern Soul, and really good, really, really good. And their videos have Northern Soul dancing in it and stuff. And I love to see that kind of thing. And every once in a while you get, like, especially with videos which aren't nearly as prominent as they used to be, but when some bands will do great videos and they'll have Northern Soul in it, and you're like, what? They're doing Northern Soul dancing. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Plan B. Do you know Plan B out of England? So he's like a rapper, but he's heavily influenced by mod and by Northern Soul.
Yeah.
And he did a concept album about a guy who goes to prison for something petty and then ends up covering for a prison mate who had killed somebody in prison, so that he ends up doing the time for it. And the whole album is the story of this character, and like 3 or 4 of the tracks are straight up Northern Soul, and heavy R&B beats and stuff like that, and it's with a heavy British accent. So cool. It's a very cool album.
Right. Probably it would be interesting to know his origin story and where his roots were. Makes me think of like Fatboy Slim, right? Somebody taking their mod Northern Soul background and pushing it into something that's totally different, but you can still hear the Northern Soul in so much of the music. And I love finding that kind of stuff. And there's a lot coming out of Scandinavia. I do see these bands. It's like, oh, they're from Helsinki, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
or
great.
Estonia. There's this kind of funk hip hop group, a little bit of electronic in there. It's Estonia. Lex Soul Dance Machine.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard them?
No, I haven't.
And there's definitely soul and Northern Soul in the background there, but they're just driving it in these crazy electronic funk ways. It's really good stuff, and you find it in the weirdest places all over the world, and then you discover this is their 7th album, and
you're like, wait, now I have to go back to this,
right. So where do you see On Target going in the future, and how long can you do it? I ask myself this all the time. How long can I keep doing this?
I think I'm going to keep doing it until it's not fun anymore. I think that's my
good answer.
Yeah, because I enjoy doing it. I love discovering new stuff. I love digging, which I haven't been doing enough of recently. But I when I went to England, it was all reignited because I went to this one shop in Ramsgate. And I was staying with Tim from the Internationalist Club, and he took me in there, and he knew the guy, and the guy's like, well, I've got all these boxes that keep behind the counter that nobody knows about. So that was like just joy for me. I spent ages just going through these boxes, spent way too much money, but it was totally worth it. But I always think about what I left behind. Like, what did I not look at? I had to stop the whole thing.
Right.
Otherwise,
it's amazing to me, not being a big record collector or crate digger, that there are still places where you can find stuff. I would think at some point, man, everybody's found it all somehow, right? Because there are people like you are out doing this.
but there's also a lot of people I find who buy specifically to sell.
Right.
So they are out looking for it all the time so that they can sell it to people like me. And there's a guy in Montreal, Ben Schulman. He's a big dealer. A lot of people know him. And he, since he was 13 years old, has been going out and searching for like huge lots of 45.
Is that Ben from Addicted to the Needle?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I listened to that with DJ Parker Pat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat,
So
good guy.
Parker Pat's like my best friend. We've been friends
Oh.
for ages. Yeah, we've got like a bromance thing going on. But so yeah, that is a great podcast because it's literally their lives. Like they met when Ben was like 16, I think, at a record show, and ever since Ben's been selling records to Pat, and he always like gets the first pick of everything, and so they decided to make it into a podcast, which is really fun to listen to because
it is a great podcast. It
Yeah.
is one of my favorites because they do play music, but they talk so much that like I know their life story when they had to go to a notary or something tragic happened, and you know, like all these things. But it's very engaging.
It really is. But he like so Ben's whole life, it's all he does is search through people's record collections and then clean everything up and sell it back to people like me, and like that. And oftentimes he finds just the most amazing stuff that I can't afford, but I really want.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this has been very engaging, and I appreciate you taking the time and coming and talking a little bit about this stuff. And we'll see where the music goes, and maybe there will be some exciting things that we can't even possibly imagine right now. That's what I'm hoping for.
I hope so too. I'm very passionate about this. It means everything to me, and I think that what you're doing and you know what Ben and Pat are doing, like what I'm doing, it's really important because this stuff just can't get lost, and these stories cannot go fade into nothingness.
Yeah, I know. I agree, and it's always great because people have unique takes on things from different angles that add to that. But remembering the past is an important thing. It's not just a trip down memory lane. There's something to be cherished about this music from the past, and then how it affects the present too, and what it's inspiring people to do, which is what I'm often looking for.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Well, Mod Marty, On Target Podcast. What is your website?
It's ontargetpodcast.ca.
.ca. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a link to that up at the Modcast homepage at mrsuave.com. But I appreciate your being here and taking the time, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob.